Welcome to Cheapy Joe's Workshop, the channel where you can tinker with 3 screws, 2 ideas, and 0 budget. So today, Cheapy Joe is going to transform this crappy old table into a competitive laptop desk with a litke money and a lot of hope. Will it last? Honestly, I don't know, but that's the suspense. What you need: an old table, scrap wood lying around your garage, a screwdriver that smokes a little but not too much, a table saw that still works is even better, a router that's not too dilapidated, a sander, it'll come in handy, and most importantly, your faith in the impossible.
Alrighty guys, welcome back to Cheapy Joe's Workshop channel. I'm Cheapy Joe. Yeah, there we go. Come on in guys, I'll show you what we're doing today. Alright, we got another table. I got 6 of them actually, so we'll kind of show you what we're doing with each one of them. Now, we got this one taken apart, most of it. We have the legs, and the legs, if you come over here, we'll show you how it's hooked up. They've got a bracket on the side of it with a bolt that goes through it and attaches the leg to the frame of the table. Pretty cool way they did it. They got an insert in that wood. So if you ever want to think about putting legs on a table, that's a good way to do that. And then they have these little brackets. In a previous video, I couldn't think of the name of these darn little things, and they're brackets. That's all they are. And they have them screwed all the way around, and voila, there's the frame. Now, at the top of the table, on the top of the tabletop, the reason that I purchased the tables is because they had a really nice chunk of wood on the top of them. Okay, but as you can see, it's a little small now because I've been kind of whittling away at the chunk of table or the wood that I used. Now, here's the really important thing here. I was under the impression by looking at this that this here is a solid piece of wood from here to the other side of the table. It's not. It's just a piece of thin veneer. So I turn the table over, the tabletop over, and what do we got? We got lines and holes and poof, it pretty much looks like junk to me. Anyhow, they attach the piece of wood to the table through the bottom with screws. So somehow we're going to have to hide the screws. Now I have a great way to do that, but I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to actually use wood, and I'm going to use inlay on the way around like I did on my other table. Just use a really nice inlay with a nice little design pattern. So you're probably thinking, why does he have lines all over the top of this table? As I'm looking at this table, my wife uses her computer, her laptop quite a bit, and she bought a chill pad for it. And the way the chill pad works is the laptop sits on it, and then it raises up and down, and the fans are underneath it. And I thought, well, hey, I got a table. Why don't I make a laptop table for her? So here we go. At any rate, here's what we came up with. The first thing we came up with was something to hold the laptop onto the table. Okay. So I took a piece of wood and I trimmed it really nice with a cove bit. And then I took another piece on the bottom and I did the same thing, but only on one side, so the laptop can fit up here on this piece of wood, be supported by this piece of wood. On the back side, what I did is I made a bracket with 3 pieces of wood. I glued them. I made a dado on each end of them so this piece of wood would fit on them. Then I made 2 L brackets.
Cheapy Joe's tips and tricks. Because a good tip is always good to take.
Hey guys, this is the segment of the show that we call Tips and Tricks. So our first tip of the day is this. We're going to talk about sanders, belt sanders, all right? Well, like I told you before in one of my earlier videos, I just about ground my finger in two with one of these sanders. An excellent tip, all right, is gloves. Always wear gloves when you use your sander. All right. If you should happen to slip off of what you're doing, the sander won't. Well, you can see where I got a few holes in my gloves where I slipped off of it, and it won't go through the glove into your finger. So the glove actually takes the abrasion and not your finger. So you might ask, why does Cheapy Joe have a pair of shoes in his shop? Doesn't he have a clothes closet in his bedroom for his shoes? Well, actually, they're not my shoes. They're a pair of my old wife's shoes. Now, here's the trick of the day. When you're using your belt sander, you use it a lot. The paper loads up with dust. here's a great way to clean your sandpaper and make it go a little further. You take an old shoe, all right, and you use the back of it, and you clean your sander. You can see where it's dirty, all right? Now this is a pretty new sander, or a new belt, so it's not loaded up, but you'll see what it does. And voila, your sandpaper is now much cleaner than it was before. Your shoe's not in too good a shape, but we got a lot of leather on that we can use to clean up our belt sander. Okay, guys, this is the moment of truth. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. As shop teachers say, this is where the rubber meets the road. Come on in, we'll show you what we got. All right, we got her done. It was a good build. Are you ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Lo and behold, there you have it. There is our laptop table. It was a pretty good build. Like I said, it comes from an old restaurant table. And the reason we purchased the tables is because we acquired this wood right here. If you can see where the square is, they actually have 2 tables screwed to one piece of wood. All right? So on our table here, like I said, we have it set up so that the heights will move up and down. You can move it up, adjust the heights. Okay? Your laptop fits on it quite nicely as well. We have a nice little laptop here. It's actually my wife's laptop. It fits on there quite well. And we have a couple of accessories. Now what I did was with the mouse pad, some people are right-handed, some people are left-handed. I put it on a piece of board and I glued it. So depending on which hand you are, and it fits quite nicely into there. You can use it on this side, or you can take it and you can put it on this side. I also, like I said before, I had some boxes left over. This is my last box that I had from another project. I used 4 of them on my barbecue caddy, and this was the last one left, and it fits actually very nicely in our little tray up here on the top. It's almost like a slide. You can move it to wherever you want. And you have a place for storage as well. So, here's what we got, boys and girls. One of the biggest problems that I had with this build is this. When I was cutting the inlay on this, the board is actually set on the table and it's upside down, so you can't see the cut as you're cutting it. All right? What happened was this. Believe it or not, this has happened to me one time before, is the bit actually came loose. And what it did is this. As I was cutting along, this is the height I was supposed to be, it dug a great big hole in it. And I wasn't able to see it, and when I saw it, it made me sick. I thought we actually had ruined the table, and I was going to have to put my piece of wood that I wanted to cover up my mistake. The way that I fixed it is I got little blocks of wood, 3 of them. And I put one on the end, and one in the middle, and then I glued my wood to I glued the blocks to the hole that I cut for the inlay, and then I put my inlay and I glued that to it, and you can't even tell, except for these one places on the ends you can see where the 2, but I made them all the way around so it looks like I actually made it that way. So I think our build came out pretty nice. It's pretty elegant. It's pretty snazzy. I'm very pleased with it. What we have here, okay, is we have the table. We paid $10 for the table, okay? I have a great big bucket full of paint, full of stain. I think I paid $10 for it. I maybe, if I'm lucky, if I use $2 for the paint. Maybe. Probably not, more like $1. So we have a total of a $12 bill for a beautiful table like that. So we hope you like the show, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Please tell your friends about us. Please subscribe to our channel. It does help us. And when we were on the internet, we were looking around. Some of those people have 475,000 views. We got 700. So guys, you got a lot of work to do. Share us with your friends. Tell everybody about us. And come back soon.
Cheapy Joe's tips and tricks. Another great tip to keep in mind.
Here's a great trick. When I was in the machine shop, we used to use gauge pins. A gauge pin is if it's a pin that you use to see if it's too big, or if the hole's too big or too small. Well, I call these gauge pins, and what I use them for, whenever I'm doing setup work on my mill or my saw, I make when I cut the molding, what I do is I cut an extra piece, and I make a small piece like this, so that when I want to make another one, I don't have to set the height adjustment. All I have to do is set the gauge pin underneath it and make the bit come up to the piece of wood, and that's how I set my router up. Now I can also do, from my dados, I do the same thing. So I have the height set and the width set on a piece of wood. So the only thing I have to do is bring it under my router table and adjust my fence, okay, and the height of the bit. Now if you look at this, you can see it. There you go. Okay, and then I bring my table up forward, and I tighten it up. You can see that. Okay, and it's ready. When I remove this and I tighten my fence back up, I can now take a piece of wood and get the same cut on the piece of wood, and I don't have to go through and measure the height and the position of the fence. So I use this, and I have them for different widths, different sizes. So once again, like I said, depending on the size of the bit, all I have to do, same thing, bring it up to the top, adjust the fence, set the height, and I'm ready to cut wood. Okay, here's a great tip for sure. This here little gizmo right here is called a new. I don't know, a new something, but if you look under new on the internet, you'll find it. It sells for about $50. I bought this about the first time I ever used my saw, and it's a great tool. It'll do some amazing things, and I'll show you one of them. Now, one of the things is it'll save your fingers. If you look at the back of mine, you can see where I got a little too close to one way or the other, and I tore into the plastic. Better the plastic than my fingers. All right, now I want to cut a piece of inlay. All right, I have two choices. Obviously, I'm going to use my gauge pin to set up the width of the cut. All right, voila, it's ready to go. I am ready to start ripping inlay. Now I can make this inlay any thickness I want, thicker or thinner. Now what I do when I have a big piece of wood, I just cut and I just start ripping the stuff off. Okay, but when I get down to here, I don't want to use my little fingers, my little digits in there next to this saw blade. Now you have to realize these saws have no feeling at all for your fingers, and it'll take one of them off in a New York heartbeat. There's a joke that says, hey, never trust a man by the name of Lucky who's missing a couple of fingers. What I do is I take my router and I cut in the piece of wood a rabbet. You see the rabbet that I used right there? I cut it the length of the wood that I'm going to be ripping the inlay off of, so that when I cut, I put it up against the fence, and now I adjust my little tool here. Okay, and I don't have to use my fingers next to this blade. I use this, and it works great. Now, another thing about it is you can cut almost the whole width of this wood, and the only piece you're going to lose is where you cut your dado. I'll show you. Look at this. Okay, this is where I cut the dado, and this is where the wood was cut. And you see how thin that is? All right. It's incredible. There you go. Tips and tricks of the day. Hope you've enjoyed them. Hope it helps you with your woodworking. Hope it saves you some time, and you picked up a few good ideas along the way.
Mission accomplished for Cheapy Joe. An old table doomed to end up in the dump is now a desk worthy of an ambitious bureaucrat. With Cheapy Joe, You don't need to be rich to create amazing things. Just a little elbow grease, some recycled materials. And don't forget, a good pot of ready-to-use wood glue. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with anyone who wants to become a future Cheapy Joe. Activate the bell to stay informed of Cheapy Joe's wonderful new ingenuity.